This Juventus sport bike was in the production line of Honda from 1997 to 2005. While the whole world knows it by the name Firestorm in the USA, it was marketed under the name Superhawk. The specialty of this sports bike is that unlike other sports bikes, it was not only about speed or style rather. Honda ran several experiments and introduced a number of innovations with this bike. The Superhawk Honda was an all-new twin-cylinder two-wheeled sports package that was light in weight, easy to steer, and offered robust low to mid-range power and torque. With this bike, Honda truly became a strong contender against the Italian icon Ducati, while maintaining its Japanese quality and practicality. The efforts of Honda behind developing this motorcycle paid off, and the customers appreciated this bike due to its affordability and user-friendliness in the sports bike category. These appreciations were soon converted into awards, and in 1997 this bike won the award of 10 Best Bikes by America's largest motorcycle media brand Cycle World. Honda VTR 1000F Superhawk's outlandish design was acclaimed by many, but the real secret behind its design is lots of new additions that made this bike special in Honda's motorcycle history. Honda experimented with almost every part of this bike. A new aluminum twin-spar semi-pivotless frame was used with a more progressive adjustable suspension system that granted better handling to the rider. The front suspension was featured with a 41 0mm HMAS cartridge fork with spring, and the suspension fitted on the rear had a Pro Link HMAS single shock with a spring. For better braking power, both the wheels were equipped with disc brakes. The front wheel had dual full floating 296mm discs with 4 piston calipers, and a single 220mm disc with a single piston caliper on the rear wheel. The suspension and brakes worked on 17-inch wheels on both ends. Several other changes were introduced to facilitate the bike's enhanced aerodynamics, lightweight, and upgraded performance. This bike was fitted with side radiators when the front was the convention back then. Instead of focusing on the more miles per gallon concept, Honda equipped this bike with a 19-liter fuel tank, which was probably the largest in its category. Further modifications were made to the riding position. Unlike many other sports bikes, the Superhawk's clip-on bars were mildly raked, giving it a lesser extreme riding position. The analog gauges on the dash were replaced by a new and smart LCD screen that displayed fuel level, engine temperature, dual-trip milliometer, odometer, and clock. The bike was equipped with the Honda Ignition Security System Immobilizer as a standard feature, providing an edge to security. Even in its engine, Honda had packed an element of surprise. Honda launched this bike with a newly actualized liquid-cooled 90-degree V-twin with a DOHC 4 valves per cylinder 4-stroke engine. As an innovative feature, the rear wheel swing arm was directly bolted to the engine. The powerful V-twin engine had a capacity of 996 cc and was capable of flushing out 110 horsepower at 9,000 revolutions per minute and 96 nanometers of torque at 7,000 revolutions per minute. The accessories of this bike were equally as good as its engine. Honda applied some innovative ideas while accessorizing the motorcycle. First, Honda introduced side radiators with this bike when the usual position of the radiators was at the front. The engine's case was single-casted, and the internal connecting rods to the piston were fitted with cap screws instead of nuts. For more significant air and fuel intake for its powerful V2, Honda introduced 38mm intake valves. This size was the largest that Honda had ever used in any of its production motors at that time. In synchronization, Honda also used 48mm carburetors in this bike, which was another record. Innovation-wise, this bike was and still is fantastic. The features of this motorcycle do not come at a hefty price. In fact, its price tag is quite reasonable compared to the other sports bikes in the market today. Honda's concept of producing a lightweight, easily handled, and superior performing bike was fairly actualized. The handling was quite good and sharp, together with the best in-class brakes and suspension. Overall, this motorcycle can be a worthy addition to your garage if you are looking for a performance bike with a not-so-hefty price tag. Honda did actually employ a few tricks on the Firestorm that belie its fairly relaxed nature. The frame uses the engine as a stressed member, the swing arm mounts directly to the crankcases, and there are even side-mounted radiators to keep everything nice and slim. But it is far from a sports bike, and its suspension is pretty budget, and its geometry set for relaxed riding. Is this a bad thing? Not at all. If you aren't too fussed about razor sharp, handling the Firestorm is a good day-to-day road bike, never one to throw a tank slapper at you. The Firestorm SW eeps through bends with confidence, and its low 810mm seat height makes it very reassuring for shorter or less experienced riders. When buying used, there isn't much specific to worry about in terms of the chassis, and it is more down to general old bike issues. Check the suspension for leaks, the linkages for seized parts, and the brake calipers for any signs of sticking pistons, but overall the Firestorm is solid. Here is a major issue with the Firestorm: it does like to drink fuel. Owners report figures as low as 35 ml per gallon are quite common, and that means the fuel light, annoyingly there is no gauge, and the sender unit likes to pack up, leaving you with no warning light. Either will come on hopefully at around 100 miles, as the early Firestorm only has a 16-liter tank. Honda did slightly rectify the situation in 2001 when they upped this to 19 liters, and claimed to have helped the economy, but in truth the changes aren't reflected in the mil per gallon figures, and the range is only boosted by about 20 miles, which is a shame as the Firestorm is a comfortable bike. For gentle cruising, the Honda is a typical Honda product, comfortable and relaxed with minimal vibes and fairly well-placed bars. The half fairing is a bit small, but that's not a huge drama. You can buy an aftermarket belly fairing to make it a full fairing, and with a taller screen fitted you can certainly cover miles on one. And owners do. It's not uncommon to see a Firestorm with over 30,000 miles on its clocks.